Clippers next, though. They made a statement last night by taking down the Suns 113-103. Paul George had a game-high 33 points, and L.A. snapped the Suns' 7-game winning streak. While Charles Barkley was calling out the Clippers, Shaq came to Paul George's defense. Take a listen.
Paul, this is Shaq. I don't have a question. I just want to commend you, brother. Last year in the playoffs, you didn't do very well. I think you know that. Everybody jumped on you. They criticized you. They chastised you. You didn't complain. You took it like a man, and you're balling out, brother. I want to say congratulations and good luck this year. Very proud of you, young man. I respect you a lot.
Appreciate you, big fella.
Well, Shannon, are you surprised that Shaq defended Paul George?
Hold on. I know it's not the same Shaq that said back in October after the finals, the Clippers should trade Paul George so Kawhi can be the man.
Mm-hmm. He said that.
That ain't Shaq. No. The very guy that says he commended him for the way he handled criticism, criticized him.
Well, he's commending him for handling Shaq's criticism.
Skip, Paul PG invited this. Nobody ever gave him the name Playoff Pete. He gave himself that name. If you give yourself a, Skip, when they call somebody, I didn't give myself Big Play Shay. James Worthy did not give himself the name Big Game James. They called him that, Skip, because he had a higher playoff average, scoring, and other stats than he did in the regular season. Skip, if you give yourself a name, shouldn't you have to live up to the name that you gave yourself?
Yep, I agree.
So he gives himself a name like, I'm a playoff player, I'm a Don. And come playoff time, y'all gonna see. Well, he's come up small ever since he's bestowed the name upon himself when he got on stage in OKC with Russ and Carmelo. And now he's mad at people because they're like, bro, you gave yourself that name and you, what are you talking about? Nobody's ever...
Which has become pandemic.
Right. So he invited the criticism. Not to say it wouldn't have come, Skip. He's an all-star player. He's been an all-star, an all-NBA player. He finished third in the MVP race. So the criticism is going to come when you're that level of player. But you invite more criticism when you bestow a name upon yourself and you don't live up to that name because you make your name in the playoffs, Skip. That's how you that's how you build a legacy. Kobe, yeah, the 81 points in the regular season, we all remember that. But it's what Kobe did in the playoffs. It's what Magic did in the playoffs. It's what Bird, it's what the greats done in the playoffs that makes you become the legend, takes you to that iconic status. LeBron. So, don't do that. Don't Skip. See, there you go. See, this is where you and I separate. We were doing good. We were doing really good this morning.
I was hanging on every word until that one. You just made my eyes just about roll out of their sockets.
Skip, but at the end of the day, it's all on Paul Pierce. Like he said, all this chirping.
Paul George,
Paul George. They're doing all this chirping. It's going to be up to you to squash this chirping.
It is.
But if you think you're going to squash it by what you're doing in the regular season on a Thursday night in April, you're sadly mistaken. Because just like you didn't, you gave yourself, you didn't say regular season, please. I'm a master. I'm Reg P. You said playoff P. So they want to see these types of performances when it matters the most. So, Skip, look, I get it. Shaq's defending him. But I don't know. You should expect criticism, Skip. If you're one of the top players in the NBA, you should expect criticism. If you're not getting no criticism, something ain't right.
Okay. By the way, quick point of order. Knowing you the way I know you, you probably did give yourself the nickname Big Play Shay.
I did.
And then you just lived up to it.
Actually, I didn't give myself that name. I think Trent Dilfer gave me that name.
Trent Dilfer?
I think he did.
Yikes.
I used to be Big Guy. I used to give you a game, but Skip, at that point, I held play here and there.
Well, maybe it
worked.
Maybe it was because that's about all that Trent could get you the football.
You might be right.
Okay. Now back to PG. I was taken aback. I watched this live, and I just sat back and said, whoa, because Shaq has been hard on Paul George.
Yes.
Playoff P.
Right.
And you're right about everything you said about him, but I felt like Shaq was calling himself out and just flat out said, I don't even have a question for you. I just want to tell you this sort of quote unquote to your face live interview. And I want you to hear what I'm saying. Shaq's a tough guy, and I don't think anybody ever would disagree.
No.
He's a tough guy.
Right.
And he spoke the other day about the 4, older players, players from the past that he would take into the octagon with him, and they're all the Charles Oakley caliber players.
X-Man.
Yeah, X-Man, Xavier McCann.
Yeah.
We don't have those guys.
No.
It made me think, because we were even thinking about doing a topic about it. Who are those guys today? The enforcers, the bodyguards. Right. Well, this league just doesn't have any enforcers or bodyguards.
They fined and suspended that out of the league.
They did. And Paul George is as far from an enforcer or bodyguard as you can get.
Right.
But here's one of the toughest guys ever to play the game, Shaquille O'Neal, saying, brother, I just want you to know I'm proud of you because you're standing up to the fire, because he's taking a lot of heat for playoff P, pandemic P. Well, here's the irony of this for me. Remember how this all started back in the bubble? Paul George said he was having psychological problems in the bubble because he was just crumbling under the captivity of it. He just couldn't take the confinement on a daily basis to the point that he was depressed and needed counseling. Right. And usually the internet, if a prominent athlete says and declares publicly, volunteers the fact I needed counseling and I got it, the internet usually applauds, except in the case of this man in the bubble.
Not with athletes.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, we've gone through this with others.
Look, they might say, listen, let me tell you how this thing works, Skip. I know what guys are going to say publicly, but privately they're saying he's weak.
Bingo.
And that's how they're approaching him. And you see the way they come at him in the games. Bingo. That's how they think about him.
Okay, I agree. And now he's having to take it right between the eyes every single night. And the primary perpetrator of that has been 2 games against the Suns, because Devin Booker has led the charge. Yes. He is all over him. You weak. Yeah. And whatever happens in the game, he's just in his face, reminding him just how weak he is.
And I love Paul. Paul, like, okay, you think I'm weak? I'm going to go at you.
Okay, well, he did last night.
At you.
And I know it was just a Thursday night in April. It didn't, quote unquote, count. It's not a playoff P game, but you can see that he is fighting back.
Right.
He's not, and he said after the game, we just go on about our business, but he gives it back to him. Right. And then he relies a little bit on Patrick Beverley to give it back a whole lot more. So the point is that Shaq was saying, this is pretty good what you're doing, because you're balling out. Because he is balling out. He's had some stretches where he's gone cold, but he's making 44% of his three-point shots. And he's had some outbursts here of late. He scored 22 in the first quarter against Portland. That's just not that easy to do.
But you saw what he did against Orlando.
Okay, he's had some bad games too, but he's like most shooters. He comes and goes. But when you've shot 44% for the year,
he's stroking it from the three.
He's not missing many games. He's playing most of their games. Whew. And he made that one big 3 last night that just closed the door, just slammed it right in their face. And he danced after that one on one leg. He was hopping on one leg like, I got you.
But Skip, you know how this worked. Even when LeBron was all NBA every single year, winning MVPs, they're like, well, when you going to do this in the playoffs? When you going to do this in the big moments?
Well, the quote-unquote proudest I ever was of LeBron James was after he flamed out and crumbled in games 4, 5, and 6 against Boston in that last playoff series in Cleveland, after which Dan Gilbert, his owner, accused him of quitting in those games. Then he goes to Miami. In the first year, he just melted down in the finals, games 4, 5, and 6 against Dallas. And then we come full circle to the next year. Remember, they're down going to game 6 at Boston, right? It's game 6. And I know a lot of the reporters, the basketball guys at ESPN, our guy Chris Broussard, Stephen A. Smith, they're all like, this is it, man. If he crumbles tonight, if he melts down in this one, we're never going to think the same about
if I'm not mistaken, I think LeBron thought they would break the team up. If they lost, you had just lost in excruciating fashion, terrible fashion the year before, and then you can't even make it back. So he thought Pat Riley would break the team up.
And to his credit, he balled out. He terrorized them at Boston Garden. He had done that before. We'd seen that before. But this was make it or break it, right? And he did it, and then it sent them home for a game 7, and he dominated again with some help from Dwayne. But again, that's rising and shining when you are under the most heat.
And so now that's how he became, that's how the legend. That's how the legend became the GOAT.
So you wiped it clean in one night?
Ain't got to be clean, Skip.
Okay, well.
You know, you ain't got to be clean.
Flameouts.
No, Skip. You know,
Now, Jordan never had any flameouts.
Yeah, he flamed out.
He had no flameouts.
No, he had some. No, he had some sweat before he got swept.
Okay,
first round.
but they were calling him God in sneakers.
Yeah, but he was home. He couldn't work no miracles for himself. I mean, if I'm God, I'm working miracles for myself. I'm not leaving in the first round.
It's one of the greatest teams in the history of basketball. Celtics.
Hold on.
Do you think LeBron could have gone and done that in Game 6 at Boston Garden to Larry Bird and Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge? Nope.
You told me if you're the best player on the planet, you got to be able to win one game.
Yeah.
No, but you told me about the GOAT. You told me that when he lost to San Antonio, he got swept.